Good afternoon, students. Today I'm going to start with our last point of our subject, which is basically protozoa. So, protozoans are basically protist, okay? And there are variety of protozoa. For example, amoeba, euglena, paramecium, plasmodium, etc., which you may have known since your earlier years. However, while much is known about the structure and the basic function of this organism, okay, so the classification of the protozoa, okay, is basically divided into various uh, subphylums, okay, and these protozoa, okay, are basically a animal-like protist, okay, they are animal-like protist, and these protists have the ability to move, usually one usually with cilia or flagella or even the pseudopodias, and must obtain energy from other sources and must obtain energy from the other sources, okay. But obviously there are very simpler than that of animals, where animals like protists are called protozoa, and singular one is a protozoan, and protozoa are mostly single celled eukaryotes. I am repeating again, protozoa are mostly single celled eukaryotes, and they have a membrane bound organelle. They have a membrane bound organelles, and they commonly show the characteristics which is usually linked with the animals, such as mobility and heterotrophy, such as mobility and heterotrophy. So the term protozoa comes from the Greek words first, okay. First means proto, and animals means zoa, okay. From zoa means animals, and scientists think that the protozoa may resemble the first eukaryotes that evolved that evolved from the prokaryotes, okay. So starting with the some of the basic characters of the protozoa. So protozoa are made of one cell each like bacteria, but they are more closely related to plants and animals, okay. They behave like animals by moving around and eating the other living things. The word which I used was the mobility, okay, which I used was mobility, and the another one was heterotrophy, and another one was heterotrophy, okay. So the photograph given here is of an amoeba. It's of an amoeba, and amoeba is a type of is an example of protozoa that looks like a splotch jelly and can change the shape constantly, and it moves and eats by sending one leg like limbs, and some amoebas preys on and eat simpler organisms such as bacteria. So basically the protozoas are basically predators of bacteria, okay. Now given here, it's in DNA. Amoeba's DNA is found in the central pouch called a nucleus, which is basically present in the eukaryotes, okay. The cell membrane of an amoeba is very flexible and fluid like, and cytoplasm makes up inside the host cell. one or it may have number of flagellas through which they swim. Okay, and some of the flagellates also cause disease in the human beings. And most creatures made up of one cell are tiny, but not at all. This amoeba called Xenophytophore, it's the biggest single cell organism we have ever known. It can grow up to 20 centimeter. I'm repeating the definition again. Protozoa may be defined as microscopic, acellular, acellular animalcules, not meaning acellular, cellular animalcules existing single or in colonies without the tissues and organs, having one or more nuclei. Okay, there are also other definitions of the protozoa. Now, the microorganisms called protozoa, the protozoan, okay, Greek protos means first, as I told you, and the study of protozoa is called. So basically, protozoa occurs. So protozoa traditionally have been classified as the differences. Okay, I'm repeating again. The musculoskeletal system is basically not present. It's not present in protozoa. In case of digestion of the food, basically this protozoa eat tiny algae and bacteria and takes the food via water and stores the food in the sacs called vacuoles. Okay, and there is no special nervous system present in the protozoa, and has a very low level reaction to the world around it, and does not have a brain, which is basically present in the animals, and they can react to light and temperature changes in the environment and circulation. As it's an aquatic animal or an aquatic living organism, has water flow through the pores, and water contains food and oxygen, the protozoa basically needs. And for respiration, it takes in oxygen through the cell membrane and gives off carbon dioxide through the cell membrane itself again. And reproduction, it reproduces by splitting into half, basically a fission. Excretion, vacuole takes in and gets rid of the water. Symmetry, protozoa are generally asymmetrical. Coloration, as they are microscopic, sometimes they are pale in color. Generally they are pale in color. Okay, now moving forward with the characters of the protozoa. Protozoa are basically microscopic. Okay, the first point of our protozoa is they are microscopic. Second one, they have the simplest and the primitive of all animals with the simple body organization, that is basically a protoplasmic grade of the organization. Okay, they are cellular animals. Okay, they are cellular animals without the tissues and organs. Bodies are naked or covered by a pellicle, but in some forms, body is covered with the shells and are often provided with the internal skeleton as well. Okay, please have a look at the some of the photographs of the protozoa. These two are the stentors. Okay, these two are the stentors. It's an whole as a single organism. Okay, it's an whole as a single organism. Okay, paramecium, euglena, amoeba. Okay, amoeba can have a variety of shapes because its shapes are the shape of amoeba is basically a irregular one. Okay, now moving to the fifth point, they may be free living, okay, or living individually, or it may even form colony. Okay, may even form a colony. Their body shapes are variable, may vary from spherical, oval, elongated, or flattened. The body protoplasm is basically differentiated into outer and inner endoplasm, outer ectoplasm and inner endoplasm. Okay, next please have a look at different protozoa. Okay, one is amoeba, the second one is Giardia instantalis. This causes disease in the human beings. Now protozoan, some more characters, may have one or more nuclei, and nuclei may be monomorphic to even dimorphic, vesicular or massive, where in the case of vesicular nuclei are commonly spherical, overall biconvex, which consist of a central body. Okay, and the adenosome, the nucleolus, is encircled by a zone of nuclear swab. As I told you earlier, for the mobility, the protozoa uses flagella, cilia, or pseudopodia. Their mode of nutrition may be holozoic, or holophytic, okay, or even saprozoic, or even parasitic. Digestion is basically intracellular, takes place inside the food vacuoles present in the protozoa. Okay, please have a look at this photograph of a trypanosoma. This one is a blood stained, in which where you can see clearly the presence of the trypanosoma, and these are human parasites. These trypanosomas are human parasites. Next character, the respiration occurs through the diffusion through general body surface, and excretion occurs through a general body surface, but in some forms temporary opening in the ectoplasm or through a permanent pore called cytopage. okay, or through a permanent pore called a cytopage, okay, and they basically osmoregulate with the help of contractile vacuoles in freshwater forms, and this also helps in removing the excretory products. Okay, so basically contractile vacuoles have many variety of functions. Okay, one is the osmoregulation, the removal of the excretory products also. Now comes the reproduction. They may reproduce sexually or asexually, and the asexual reproduction may occur by binary fission, multiple fission, budding, sporulation, and the sexual reproduction is basically performed by gamete formation, is the occurs by gamete formation or conjugation or conjugation. Now life cycle, it often exhibits the alternation of generation. Okay, basically it means it includes asexual as well as sexual phases for the reproduction. Okay, at one stage it may undergo a sexual reproduction, at one stage, another stage it may opt for a asexual, okay, or vice versa. It may go for sexual or it may move for a asexual reproduction depending on the conditions. Okay, and the term encystment, okay, the cysts are formed, okay, occurs to the tide over the unfavorable conditions. Okay, it helps, encystment occurs in the unfavorable conditions basically. Okay, as I told you, the protozoans have different type of nutrition, saprophytes, parasites, okay, and there are also various other forms. Okay, and one basically exhibit two modes of life: free living, inhabiting freshwater, saltwater, damp places, and the parasitic ones, which are ecto and endoparasites. Ecto and endoparasites. Now they are also commercially inhabited. How? Because the protozoa helps the water ecosystem, okay, helps the water ecosystem by eating the bacteria, by eating the excess of the bacteria. So protozoa basically controls the bacterial population in the aquatic environments, natural environments. Okay, and what is basically the size of the protozoa? Okay, there are always exceptions, but general size, okay, general size of the protozoa ranges from 2 to 250 microns, from 2 to 250 microns. Okay, and Babesia, Leishmania, Plasmodium are the smallest protozoans known for. Smallest protozoan known so far, and some of the larger protozoa like amoeba and paramecium. Okay, now moving forward with the shape of the protozoa, as they are the most primitive of all organisms, of so especially when I'm discussing about the eukaryotes. Okay, some of the body shape of the bacteria have a specific shape, okay, but most of the protozoa may not have a proper shape. It may vary from a species to species, and body shape is usually determined by the consistency of the cytoplasm and limiting membranes of the body and cells and skeletons. Amoeba has an irregular asymmetrical body shape because of the absence of rigid body envelope. Okay, occurrence, where are the protozoa found? They are found in a variety of moist habitats. They are found in a variety of moist habitats, lakes, ponds, okay, even the streams, and one of the main reason of the protozoa they cannot grow in dry environments because they are susceptible, because they are susceptible to the desiccation, because they are susceptible to the desiccation. Okay. Now moving forward, most of the protozoa are free living and inhabit in fresh or marine environments. Some are also found in terrestrial environments, in the decaying organic matter, in soil, in beach sand, and some are parasitic to humans, animals, as well as plants. Okay. Now the forms of protozoa. The first one, cyst. What do you mean by the cyst? It's just for your information. It will be helpful to understand the properties of the protozoa. The cyst, okay, to service its die conditions, that is of the protozoa, the dormant and the resistant form is called a cyst. Is called a cyst. Okay. So the cyst form of protozoa is basically found in the conditions which are basically not proper for the protozoa. Now next comes the vegetative forms, trophic forms. These forms are present in the sea and water environments. The sea and the water environments. Okay. Now ecology of protozoa. They may be free living or living on or in the other organisms. That is ectoparasites and endoparasites. Okay, it means ectoparasites and endoparasites. Okay, now moving with them further. Free living. Okay, different factors which basically affect the distribution and the number of living protozoa, like moisture, temperature, light, nutrients, and other physical and chemical conditions. So the vegetative, it's not vegetable, it's vegetative trophic stages of the free living protozoa occur in every type of salt water, fresh water, sand, soil, and decaying organic water. Okay, which are the factors which affect protozoa? Which are the factors? First one is the light. Some of the protozoa do have chromatophores and carry out photosynthesis, and the majority of protozoa grow in a pH range of 6 to 8, but some can also tolerate a wide ranges up to 3.2 to 8.7. Nutrients, they basically feed on algae and bacteria, and their temperature optimum is around 16 to 25 degrees Celsius, but the maximum temperature which the protozoa can tolerate is around 36 to 40 degrees Celsius. Okay, now those living on or in the organisms. Okay, so there are basically associations: commensalism, mutualism, parasitism. So first comes the commensalism. In this case, neither the host, okay, in which they are living, okay, or they are living on the host, they are not harmed, okay, but they are not benefited also. Okay, they means host. So the first term here in the commensalism is basically protozoa basically attach themselves to the host body, means just the attachment, whereas endocommensalism is the association of the protozoa inside the host body. So there are various some of the protozoa which are naturally present, which are naturally present in the human body. Okay, example, some of the protozoa live in human on the of the alimentary tract. Next comes the mutualism, where both the organisms are benefited. Okay, where both the organisms are benefited. Certain flagellates which live in gut, okay, it's not GAT, live in gut of the termites and digest woody material eaten by the termite to glycogenous substance, which can be used by the host cells. Okay, so if these same termites okay, do not have these flagellates, they are not able to survive. They are not able to survive. So in this case, both protozoa as well as the termites are benefited. Both protozoa and the termites are basically benefited. Next comes the parasitism. It means it is going to cause a disease in the host. Okay, it is going to harm the host. Okay, organisms lives at the expense of the other. This causes host to develop a pathological conditions. Example is a group Sporozoa. Okay, now the classifications. Okay, how are the protozoa classified? Okay, I've just given here the very basic classification system. Okay, it's just for your knowledge. It will help you to understand the various properties of the protozoa. Okay, this is just a very basic classification. Subkingdom protozoa, phylum Sporozoa, they are spore forming, Ciliophora, Rhizopoda, Zoomasticophora, which are basically zooflagellates. Okay, so now I'm moving forward with the Sporozoan group, with the sporozoans. Okay, what are the sporozoans? They are commonly parasitic on the vertebrate animals. The best known studied or the well studied sporozoan is Plasmodium, which causes malaria. They invade blood cells where they multiply and eventually escaping from the ruptured cells. Okay, please have a look at the sporozoan. Okay, please have a look at the structure of the sporozoan. Okay, polar ring, conoid, a pellicle. Okay, and micronym, robbed. It's just for your knowledge. Okay, you need to remember this. Just for your knowledge. Now next comes the Ciliophora. Okay, Ciliophora means the protozoa which have cilia. A complex freshwater or saltwater protozoans swim by coordinated beating of their cilia. Okay, you know what are cilia, and one of the best studied ciliate is a paramecium. Okay, please have a look at the some of the examples of the Ciliophora. Okay, first one is a stantor, second one is a Stalunkia, and the last one is a paramecium. The first two are the actual photographs, and the third one is the diagram of the paramecium. Next comes the phylum Rhizopoda. Okay, these are basically amoeboid organisms. One of the best example is of a amoeba. Okay, they produce loose pseudopodia, which helps them to prey on even fungi, other protists, and even some of the small invertebrates. Okay, as well as it helps them to feed on algae as well as the bacteria. Now comes the last group, last phylum, Zoomasticophora. Basically, they are characterized by having one or more flagella. These are the flagella structures. Okay, and they are parasites, various hard animals. They are also known as flagellates or flagellates. And one of the best studied example is a trypanosoma. One of the best studied example is of a trypanosoma. Okay, so everyone please join the WebEx session. Everyone please join the WebEx session.